Hey, what's going on, guys? If you are looking for the best compositions to play in Teamfight Tactics for patch 11.18, we have the video for you. We are going to go over all the good comps right now. We're going to be going over everything that's changed in the meta, all the good comps right now, and ranking them all the way from S to C tier. So the big changes this patch were Lucian, Jax, Ivern, and Volibear all got nerfed, which means that the front line of Revenants have definitely taken a step back. We also saw that the Lucian and Jax comps don't work quite as well now, but they're still pretty decent. But if you guys want to check out the full patch notes, I have the video right here, and I'll leave a card up here as well. But let's just get right into the actual tier list. So in the S tier, by far the best comp right now is VELKOZ with Abominations. Everything else got nerfed, so guess what's going to be really good? Probably Abominations. Also, a lot of people are playing Ironclad, both last patch and this patch, and guess what VELKOZ really is good against? People who do not have a lot of magic resist. So people are stacking armor. VELKOZ is going to be really good because he's going to be the ability power carry. And this comp, guys, is like by far the most played by the best players in the world. So that's why they are alone in the S tier. Like, it wasn't even close. I'm pretty sure all the games they played of Kayle, Assassins, and Aphelios were still less than the amount of games played in Abominations for the very best players. So moving on to the A tier, Kayle Knights, Assassins, and Aphelios, no surprises there. These comps didn't really get touched that much by the nerfs, so they are safe in the A tier. What's going on in the B tier is you got a lot of comps you can play. So honestly, guys, you could one-trick any comp in the B, A, or S tier right now and probably get pretty high up. But that doesn't mean you should play like that. I'm just saying that like a lot of comps are very viable right now. Starting in the B tier, Karma definitely is a surprise there. A lot more people are itemizing for VELKOZ. So if you're going for a lot of AP items, but you don't hit the VELKOZ, but you hit the Karma, you could just swap into that very easily. Forgotten Draven, that's a surprise. Draven keeps getting buffs, so he keeps moving up the tier list. I updated the build for this as well for this week, so we'll check that out later. Yasuo reroll still pretty good. Skirmishers took a drop down because Jax got nerfed. Sentinels nerfed a lot. Riven, decent. Invokers, only good late game. Cavalier, Cannoneer. If you get it, you get it. Same with Reroll Legionnaire. And then Redeemed VELKOZ. I don't know why you're going Redeemed VELKOZ when you could go Abomination VELKOZ, but it's still a decent comp. Hellion's not so much love there. One comp that is missing is the Reroll Redeemed comp. I'll probably add that in the next week. So now let's go on to the comps. So first things first, Abomination, Heimer, or VELKOZ. It's definitely going to be VELKOZ first, and then in the super late game, you swap into Heimer. I have both builds here, starting with the VELKOZ version. We're going to have Syndra for Invokers and Redeemed. We're also going to have Lux for Mystic and Redeemed, so we get both those bonuses as well for the VELKOZ. Put 3 tank items on Nunu, Fiddlesticks, and Brand. The most important ones, in my opinion, are Sunfire Cape and then the Ionic Spark. So Brand's item, just any random defensive item. It could be Redemption, it could be Bramble Vest, it could be Titan's Resolve. Literally anything that's a defensive item, just drop it on Brand. Who really cares? He's the third Abomination. And then all the AP items on VELKOZ. And then after that, we go into the Heimerdinger build. This is like your super late game cap if you can hit it. It's pretty much the same comp. You just have Heimer instead of VELKOZ doing the carrying. And yeah, again, for this comp, you want early Abominations, but it's not really like that required anymore because the comp is just that OP right now. And then pretty much you follow a standard leveling pattern because for VELKOZ, it's kind of like he's a 4-cost, so you can't really hit him on 7 that reliably. You could hit him 1-star on level 7, but you generally do want the 2-star VELKOZ. On to the next tier, we have the A tier. So this is going to be starting off with Kayle Knights. So Kayle Knights is still really, really good, even though it got nerfed slightly. The nerf honestly didn't even do anything to the comp. I have a few adjustments though. So we took out Aurelia, put in Jax because I really like 3 Ironclad in this comp right now. 3 Ironclad plus 4 Knights blocks out a lot of the Aphelioses and the Lucians that you are going to be facing. After that, I added an Aatrox, so we have the Legionnaire and the Redeemed buff on Kayle, and yeah, that's pretty much going to round out the comp. Rageblade, Deathblade going to be the 2 best items on her. The third item doesn't really matter. GA is good, Hand of Justice is good, a couple of other different options there as well. On to the next build, we have Assassins. Assassins, reroll comp, pretty standard. You want 6 Assassins, even though 4 Assassins is still doable. You want a lot of Zeke's Heralds to buff up your Nocturne, as many as you can. I only have 1 here just because I want to give you guys some other itemization options, but 2 Zekes, maybe 1 Banshee is probably going to be the ideal for that. If you have full items on Fiddlesticks, go ahead and put the buff items on Ivern and then backline the Ivern to buff up your Nocturne. As for items, like his items, I find that like it doesn't really matter what he has. Some people like RFC, I'm a little indifferent about it. It's obviously still good, but I'd rather use the bows for things like Rageblade instead. But pretty much any attack speed or attack damage items, and I mean literally anything, just put it on your Nocturne, just pretty much slam everything, and just try to get as big of a win streak as possible rather than trying to get perfect Nocturne items, because you really don't need them. What you really need is the Assassin Spatula and 6 Assassins to really get Nocturne to shine. Onto the last A-tier comp, Aphelios. This comp has a couple of different options. I have the 4 Nightbringer version out right now. You could also do the 4 Knights build. Both of them work equally well. It just depends who you're facing. If Knights are going to be effective in your lobby, obviously go for the Knights. If you hit a 2-star Diana randomly, of course go for the Nightbringers instead. Itemization for Aphelios. I believe I list out some options down here that you can check out. There are a lot of different combos that work. Pretty much, again, any attack damage or attack speed items. The only weird thing you could do on him is add in a Spear or Shojin, because he really likes the mana regeneration from that. But yeah, Ironclad's still good with the Rel and Nautilus combo. You could also go for other things such as the Revenant board that we saw earlier or last patch, or you can add in Mystics if you're seeing a lot of VELKOZs. You could do something like Gwen plus another Mystic. But going on into the next comp, we are in the B tier. So these comps generally aren't as strong, and they're not played too often by the best players, but they still are played, just maybe 1 out of every 20 games instead of like 10 out of 20 games like we see the VELKOZs. So Dawnbringer Karma, again, if you're going for VELKOZ, you hit a Karma 2-star randomly before you hit VELKOZs. It's pretty much a no-brainer to swap into the Karma build. I like rounding it out with 6 Dawnbringers because that's a pretty easy build to play, but you could feel free to drop down to 4 Dawnbringers and play other random legendary units or just strong frontliners instead. Oh, another note, when you play Karma, you can transition really easily into the Invoker build, which we'll get into in just a second. So now onto the Forgotten Draven build. This build got bumped up quite a bit. It was like low B tier forever, but now it's like in the high B tier. Items for Draven, I like having Bloodthirster and Last Whisper. I feel like those two are pretty mandatory. And then third item, I like Rageblade. I like using Jax as a secondary carry. Bloodthirster, RFC, Runons, Titan's Resolve, all gonna work really well on Jax. And then I like doing the 4 Forgotten build, and I actually don't like adding in 4 Knights. I like having 3 Ironclad instead, and then adding in Skirmishers with Aurelia, which also gives Legionnaire, and then have Viego as a 3rd Skirmisher, because Viego is going to be your secondary carry or 3rd carry depending on if you have Jax or Viego items. So if you get a bunch of ability power items, go ahead and put them on Viego. If you get a lot of attack damage items, put them on Jax. Really just depends on who you have 2-star and what items drop, because we can't control every item in the game. For tank items, Hecarim or Rel are going to be your main tanks. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this comp. Pretty decent if you get a free Draven. A lot of times, if you're going for Aphelios, for example, and you hit a 2-star Draven instead, just switch to Draven because they use a lot of the same items. Now onto the Nightbringer Yasuo comp, just typical reroll. Nothing's changed here, guys. Like, it's still the same build. It just got nerfed a little bit. I feel like it might be a little better now because people are not playing Volibear as much, so your shield from the Nightbringer buff might be a little more valuable, but it's too small of a thing. People are probably still going to play Volibear, and it's probably still going to remove a lot of your shield. But yeah, you want lots of Yasuos when you play this comp, and honestly, like, you're never playing around Volibear. If you're playing Nightbringers, it's only because you have a lot of Yasuos, and that's like the only reason why you go for it. But apart from that, like, yeah, just like only do this if you get a lot of Yasuos. Skirmishers with Knights. This build is like not as good because Jax got nerfed a little bit. I feel like there are better builds than this. I'd rather go Draven, for example, because Draven shares a lot of the units that we see here, but still decent overall. I'd say this is lowish B tier. Another lowish B tier comp is Sentinels. I am going to be playing a 3-hour video of only playing Sentinels, so do look out for that in the future. Like, you don't really need to play S tier comps all the time. Like, B tier is good enough to get to pretty much most ranks that you want to get to. What I like about this comp right now is that Lucian can use like so many different items. I've seen so many people putting like Jeweled Gauntlet on him and Titan's Resolve on him. Like, his itemization, it just goes like huge expansion essentially. Also, a lot fewer people are playing Ironclads because everyone's playing Abominations right now. So you know what that means? You don't need Last Whisper in every single game on Lucian. Whereas before, you really wanted it because everyone was playing 3 Ironclad. But a lot fewer Ironclad players now, which means he can actually have 3 pure damage items, such as what you see here. Tank items, I like Galio, and then of course you do standard leveling. If you get too many Lucian items, throw the leftovers on Akshan. Akshan carries like really hard in the late game, so do look out for that. But do make sure you don't miss out on the 3-hour Sentinel video by subscribing down below. It's free to do, and it helps me out a lot, both so you get the notifications for every future video, and because it helps me out for this video in the algorithm. Next build we have is Riven carry, similar to Yasuo, just not as good. Like if I had to pick and choose, if God gave me 6 Yasuos or 6 Rivens, I'd pick the Yasuos, but that doesn't mean this build is bad, it just means that it is slightly worse than the Yasuo build, hence why it is a little lower on the tier list. Luckily, they share a lot of the same items, they both like RFC, they both like Runons. So if you're going for bows early and you get a lot of them, you can consider going both of those comps and flexing between the 2 units. It gives you like maybe one more out, kind of. Next build we have is Invokers. This is a late game wet dream. You could get into this comp from Abominations, you could get into this comp from Karma, you could get into this comp from Redeemed VELKOZ. Essentially, like, you just need to be able to fast 9. You could get into this from even like a random attack damage build, you know? Because if you have attack speed items, you could throw that onto Heimerdinger. Like a Rage Blade he uses actually pretty decently. But you really just need a board that can get you to level 9 really easily. So that doesn't happen that often, but if it does, 1, 2, 3, 4 legendary units at 2-star is going to dominate everything. Next build we have is a Cavalier Cannoneer. Nothing's changed here in this build. Just a reroll comp. Reroll at level 6 because that is going to be the optimal level to hit all the 2-cost units. And then after you hit stuff like 3-star Hecarim and 3-star Sejuani, go ahead and level up to level 7 and reroll for MF 3-star. Next build we have Reroll Legionnaires. This is Aatrox and Callista carry, and some people 3-star Leona as well if you get it. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. A little weird build. I don't recommend it, but like, it is an option. Like, I have seen people who are in like top 10 challenger playing this. It's just a little rare because you don't always get those starts every single game. Next build we have is Redeemed VELKOZ. Like, you could go for this if you want, if aboms are like, you're just not hitting any abominations, but you get a VELKOZ for free. But just go the abomination version in the S tier because that's going to be much healthier for you and for your LP. Don't play Hellion Reroll. It's just not very good. I don't see anyone playing it. If they do, like, they're probably only going for it if they get a 3-star Tristana really randomly without even trying. Item priorities, man, dude, I don't even know what the item priorities are this week. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Belt for sure is the best because every comp needs tank items, but it really just depends on what you play. You need to make your own personal carousel item priority just in your head. You could write it down on a sheet of paper too if you really want. But I like the attack damage comps because I like playing Sentinels and Aphelios and Draven. But if you're playing the Abomination comp, like you need both defensive items and then ability power items. So if you get Belt, Tier, Rod, Chain, or even Glove for Abominations, that's going to be good. It really just depends what comp you are going for and what you are comfortable with playing. Because at the end of the day, if you don't know what you're doing, well, it's going to show in your game. And just stick to what you're comfortable with unless you know going into the game that you want to try something new. It's pretty good advice in general for most things in life. Anyways, if you want like a full item tier list, it's like approximate because again, it's all comp dependent. I would just follow whatever's recommended in the pictures here or whatever I put in the text down below beneath the picture. But just to sum up, we have again in the S tier Abominations, like by far the best comp this patch. Like, it's gonna be VELKOZ A-bombs. With 3 tank items on the Abomination, preferably one of them being a Radiant item, and then just 3 VELKOZ items, one of them being a mana item, and 2 of them being damage items. After that, A tier, Kayle, Assassins, Aphelios, all attack damage, if you guys haven't noticed the pattern yet. And then B tier, Karma's decent if you need to pivot into it. Draven's alright. Yasuo, if you get it, you get it. Skirmishers, whatever. Sentinels, Riven, if you get it, you get it. Invokers, just for late game. Cavalier, Cannoneer, like only if you get a good start for it. Reroll Legionnaire, same thing. And then Redeemed VELKOZ, what are you doing with your life? Just play the Abomination version. So that is going to be it from me today. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the like button down below. I update this tier list every single Friday. I also do want to start like a newsletter for the website and TFT in general. So if you are interested in that, on the website at the top, there is like a sign up for that. Hopefully I'll either start it like in the next week or during set 6. One of the two, I'm not really sure yet, but definitely if you are interested in that, go check that out. All the links to that will be in the description below. But apart from that, I will see you all later. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe. And of course, smash that like button. Each like is an LP I gain before the next video.